Scouts parade at ease.
Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, good afternoon and welcome to the November Brookwood Last Post. My name is Kevin Davis and I am the chairman of the Brookwood Last Post Association, the organisation that ensures this ceremony happens each month. In 2016, Woking District Scouts attended their first November Brookwood Last Post ceremony, and it is absolutely fantastic to see so many squirrels, beavers, cubs, scouts and explorers and their leaders here today to pay their respects to those that lost their lives in previous wars and conflicts. The Surrey County lead volunteer, Scout Commissioner in Old Money, Joe Rogerson, is again here, and he has been so every year during his tenure as Commissioner. We are grateful for your attendance and commitment to both scouting and supporting the Brookwood Last Post. Gordon School Pipes and Drums have been attending ceremonies here in Brookwood and at the Menning Gate in Ypres since at least the 1970s. Their attendance always makes the ceremony that extra bit special, and we are very grateful to see them here again this year. A small thank you to the Chairman of the Royal British Legion Camberley branch for attending his first ceremony today. The Imperial War Graves Commission unveiled the Menning Gate on the 24th of July 1927, and at that ceremony, buglers from the 2nd Battalion, Somerset Light Infantry, sounded the last post. Just under a year later, on the 2nd of July 1928, the Last Post Association, having been recently formed, organised for the local fire brigade to sound the last post under the Menning Gate, a tradition that has continued daily at 8 o'clock every night since. Tonight will be the 33,770th time the last post has been sounded under the Menning Gate. However, during the Second World War and the occupation of Ypres, the last post was not sounded under the Menning Gate, and was instead sounded here in Brookwood Cemetery from January 1941. A group of World War I veterans led by Ashley Cook kept the tradition alive during those dark days. When on the 6th of September 1944, the Polish liberated Ypres, the last post was again sounded under the Menning Gate and has continued uninterrupted ever since. The Brookwood Last Post Association continued and still has strong ties with the Last Post Association Committee, with various members regularly making the trip across to Ypres for the ceremony. The last time being in August, accompanying Surrey Scouts to the Menning Gate as part of the very popular Operation Last Post expedition. It will be 85 years in January since the Brookwood Last Post started sounding the last post, and we will continue to do so on the first Sunday of every month at 3 o'clock. You are always welcome to join us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul McHugh. I am the historian for the Brookwood Last Post Association, and it's my privilege to share with you the individual remembrance this afternoon. We have 4 candidates for individual remembrance, and I do urge you to have a look over on the little table over there, because we have photographs of 2 of the men that we will be remembering. The first 2 are both with the rank of soldato, which is Italian for private. And we have Michele Beccarico and Raffaele Vuono. So these were both privates in the Italian army. They both died on the 2nd of November 1945. That's exactly 80 years ago today. And just to tell you a little bit about the background of why Italian soldiers are here, the first major influx of prisoners of war to Britain came from July 1941 with Italian prisoners who had been captured in the Middle East. These Italian prisoners of war presented one way of alleviating labour shortages, particularly in agriculture. And following the Italian surrender in 1943, 100,000 Italians volunteered to stay in Britain and to work as what were called cooperators. They were given considerable freedom, they mixed with local people, and many eventually married and remained in the country. We don't know anything specifically about the deaths of the Soldato Beccarico or Soldato Vuono. It's likely that they both died in accidents or of natural causes, while still voluntarily working in Britain. They were probably first buried locally to where they were working, and then reinterred here at Brookwood after the Italian plot was created after the Second World War. The second two elements of individual remembrance are Captain James Menzies, who was born and raised in France as Jean-François Georges Menesson, and Lieutenant Roland Dowland, who was born in Italy as Rolando Francesco Guglielmo Peria. Both men were secret agents of F French section of the Special Operations Executive, SOE. They began their training at Wombre Manor, only 6 miles from here, in 1941 and 1942. On the occasion of today's attendance by Woking and Surrey Scouts, we honour the memory of these two men, in addition to the two Italian soldiers, because, as boys in their respective countries of France for Menzies and Britain eventually for Dowland, both had been keen scouts. Dowland also founded and led the 22nd South Poplar Scout Troop at St Luke's Church, Millwall. Both were captured while serving behind the lines in Nazi-occupied France. They were eventually deported to Germany and sent in April 1944 to Flossenburg concentration camp. After almost a year there, they were executed on the 29th of March 1945. They're remembered here in Brookwood Military Cemetery on the memorial to the missing 1939-1945, very close to the Italian plot along Long Avenue here. Menzies is on panel 21, column 3, and Dowland is on panel 22, column 1. In addition to the link with the Scouts here today, I just wanted to close with a mention of the Gordon Boys' Home, as it was originally called, now Gordon School. Gordon Boys' Home was established on a temporary basis at Fort Wallington near Fareham in Hampshire, down on the coast, made available by the War Office in October 1885. However, in December 1887, some 100 Gordon boys travelled to Brookwood Station, just up there alongside the cemetery. And from there they marched to West End, led by their 25-strong newly formed band, to take up residence at their newly built home. And I believe that the school recently reenacted that march. So it's very appropriate that for our poem this afternoon, we have a young representative from Gordon School to read it out to you. Thank you.
Italy. I am a poet, a unanimous cry. I am a pleat of dreams, a fruit of innumerable conflicting grafts, ripened in the hothouse. But the same earth bears your people as carries me. Italy, in this, the uniform of your soldier, I rest as if it were the cradle of my father. Cease murdering the dead. If you hope not to perish, if you want sound out of them again, Stop crying out. Cease the crying out of it. They have a barely heard whispering, no more than the increase of grass, happy when no man passes.
Scouts, parade, alert!
Standard bearers, carry standards.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Gordon School will now lead off on the national anthem.
Standard parents. Carry standards.
Now, parade, alert.
A wreath will now be laid on behalf of Woking District Scouts. A wreath will be laid on behalf of Surrey County Scouts. And a wreath will be laid on behalf of Woking Sea Cadets.
Parade, stand at ease. My name's Joe Rogerson, and as Kevin kindly said, I'm the county lead volunteer for Surrey Scouts. Erstwhile the county commissioner, I've been happy and honoured to do that job for the last 10 years. And I've also been honoured and privileged to come here on behalf of Surrey Scouts for the last 10 years. And for each of us as Scouts, it is a privilege, it is an honour, and it's one that we should take seriously. It is an honour and a privilege to come here every year. You in Woking are very lucky that you have the opportunity every year to come here and say thank you. Your very presence says thank you. It says thank you to the two men who were Scouts that were mentioned earlier, who were secret agents. It says thank you to the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of men and women buried in this very cemetery, many of whom were Scouts, many of whom were not much older than you, Explorer Scouts. It's an honour and a privilege to say thank you to them for the sacrifice that they made. We, thank God, for the last couple of generations have not had to make that sacrifice. The reason that we've not had to make that sacrifice is because of the sacrifices of the hundreds and thousands of men and women who died for our freedoms, particularly in the last 2 world wars. As Scouts, it is our duty to remember them. It is our duty to prepare ourselves to be able to help others if ever something awful like that happens again. We have to prepare ourselves with the skills for life that will help our friends, our family, our villages, towns, and our country to survive in difficult circumstances. We did it during COVID, if you remember. Scouts are there to help other people. We say it in our promise every year. On my honour, with my very soul, I promise to do my duty and to help other people. One duty is to remember the dead, and it's to remember the men and women who sacrificed their lives for our freedom. And our other job is to help other people every single day. When we wake up in the morning, we say to ourselves, how am I going to help other people today? So that if the time comes where we have to make the ultimate sacrifice, we're prepared to do that because we've learned how to help other people. And by doing that, we've learned how to sacrifice ourselves. You, as Scouts, are people that will lead this country in the not too distant future. And you are the right people to do that because you have made a promise, because you do have honour, and you do help other people. So when you go home tonight, remember the sacrifices made by the men and women buried in this place. Remember that sacrifice, and then remember what you can do to be able to help other people by making that little sacrifice every day. And hope and pray that we'll never have to make the ultimate sacrifice.
When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow we gave our today.
Thank you very much. That concludes our ceremony here this month. Big thank you to the Scout Association. Big thank you to Gordon's School Pipes and Drums and everyone that's got involved in this ceremony today. It's a fantastic turnout. Couldn't ask for better. But we will be here next month on the first Sunday of December at 3 o'clock. And you are all welcome to come back then as well. Thank you.
Hands by the centre. Quick, march.
good opportunity to remember those that have fallen and those that were scouts who've now passed, and the service that they put in for our country.